cultivating mature positivity.
CMPRadio.net.
CMPRadio.net, it's the station. Listen, man, let's cultivate together. Bring us all your show ideas. Content creators, we're looking for that. Videographers, we're looking for that. You can be a part of the next great big thing that takes place right here in Chester, Pennsylvania. Let's cultivate together, man.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
La. Oh. Hey, how's everybody doing out there in Facebook land? I'll be all caught up. Oh. check.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La la la. Behind the scene, my tears fall down. So many things have happened. The years go by and the friends you had for no more. Jealousy and envy. Wow, because you keep on grinding. People wanna see you fail, and although you fall, just move on. Crabs in a barrel. Want what you have, try to pull you down. Don't wanna work, just wanna take. Now you're so hate on me.
The more you hate, I'll get lifted.
CMPRadio.net. It's the station.
Yo. One of these days, I promise you, I'm going to be on tune when that song come down. One of these days, I promise you, I'm going to have it, like right on the spot. And or more, one of these days, maybe I'll have her come in and sing that song. I just love that song so much. Let me get my bag out the shot there. I think I did it. But the first thing I want to do is let everybody know what tonight's conversation is going to be about. So I'm only going to run in an hour tonight because I don't have any guests. But the topic of conversation I actually got from a friend on Instagram while we was talking about a couple things. And the topic is using what you know about the person you love to destroy them. And I'll really get into that, but I want to put a couple things out there first. The first thing I want to put out there is tomorrow night starts the first night of my summer series over at 517 Avenue of the States. I am recording live audience, comedians and performers and everything to be aired on CMPRadio.net, throughout the summer. All of these events will be free. It'll be the second and fourth Wednesday of the month. And after those events, it's actually going to be karaoke in the building. So once the event is over, the karaoke starts, man, hang out to your heart's content. But the event itself, the recording and everything is absolutely free to you as, a patron of the arts coming out just to watch, just to be a part of the experience. There will be vendors in the building, Drink Like a Lady. We actually have a food vendor that I just linked up with today, and I wish for the life of me I could remember her name, but I can't. This is my first meeting with her. So y'all make sure y'all come on out, all right? And I also wanted to tell everybody, you can find me on TikTok at mindofthestorm.com on TikTok. You can also go to my YouTube page and subscribe. Please go to my YouTube page and subscribe. It is Mind of the Storm. Go there, subscribe, check me out. If you can't get onto the page through there, just go to my Facebook page, which is Michael Storm Miller on Facebook. Click one of my videos that I've copy and pasted from YouTube, and you can go straight to the page through that video and subscribe on my page, okay? I really appreciate the support y'all give. So now down to the conversation. So, we get involved in these relationships, and what happens is you meet somebody, you care about somebody, and you start really opening up to who they are in your world to who they will be in your life. A lot of times when we do that, we start sharing all types of information with the person. We tell them our greatest fears. We tell them our triumphs in life. We tell them just about everything they could possibly want to know about us, and there are times within these, relationships and all, there's really times that you may get into it, you may get into arguments, you may get into a whole lot of things, and the person may figure to themselves that they don't want to argue with you anymore, or they're not trying to, well, I don't want to say they don't want to argue with you no more, but they just want to shut you down. And so they pick the most hurtful thing they can possibly say to you to stop the conversation. They dig in deep and they know right where your jugular vein is, and they bring up that stuff like, say, your uncle used to touch you or something, and I know that sounds like a really harsh example, but let's just say that, and they'll wait until you're outside or whatever. Oh, that's why your uncle used to touch you, and all of a sudden they just pretty much may as well have to pull the gun out and shot you down. Sometimes we get so close and deep into people that it doesn't take much for them to hurt us. It doesn't take much for them to pull the wind out of our sails. But it's those people that we deal with at times who really, honestly, they say they love you, but they don't care. Because I think if somebody really loves you, they're not going to pull the most hurtful thing out of their bag to disable you, to cripple you, to destroy you. It doesn't work that way. And if they do it once, they'll do it twice. If they do it twice, they're making a habit of it. There should never be any circumstance under this sun where anybody should come at you and try to say the most hurtful thing they could possibly say to you. How can you expect your relationship to survive? How can you expect somebody to confide in you or trust in you or even see you as a safe and secure place to exist if what you do is dig in real deep every time y'all get into a disagreement? Man, even one time is too many. I don't care. If I told you my deepest, darkest secrets and you came at me one time with one of them to try to hurt me, that relationship is over. That relationship is literally over because I would never do that to you. I would never take you there. I will never make you feel like you have a place where you can trust, where you can unload the burdens that you've been carrying on your shoulders for so long. And guess what? The odd part about it is a lot of times when you get with somebody and they telling you some real deep shit, man, that takes a lot. And it means a lot. It means that they trust you. It means that you are the one. You are the one that they're choosing to open up to. And the moment you try to take that and do anything negative with it, you're in the wrong. The moment you try to tell them to shut up, that's why your father never loved you, or that's why, your dad left because your mom was doing drugs. Like, man, let me tell you something. People say some crazy shit. I always say, when people assassinate your character, number one, and this is just for people that you're not even in a relationship with, but people that you may be friends with, if most of the time people assassinate your characters because you gave them the bullets. They had the gun, but they didn't have any bullets. You gave them the ammunition. But you shouldn't be in a relationship feeling like everything that you tell the person you love is a bullet. Like, here you go, I was homeless for this many years. Here you go, I never had a job. Here you go, I lost my kids to the system. Here you go, man, I used to do drugs, but I'm clean now. You got what I'm saying? People are being open and honest with you for a reason. It's not for you to load your gun to pull out when you're ready to argue with them, when you're ready to go the distance. It's not for that. It's literally not for that. We have to find better ways of discussing, our unhappiness when we're with somebody. We have to find a better way of learning how to love each other. Let me tell you something. For a lot of folks, communication ain't great. For a whole lot of folks, communication ain't great. And the sad part is most of the times that we're communicating is simply we're communicating the way we learn to communicate with people. You got what I'm saying? Like, for instance, with all of my brothers and everything, a long time ago, we burned on each other. That's what we did. We burned on each other, cracked on each other, whatever you might call it, where you come from, it was always like a comedy fest. So if you hurt yourself or your feelings was hurt or something happened, they made fun of you. And so I grew up in that type of environment, and I did it back to them. And it never really felt good when it was happening, but it's just what we did. Now, fast forward, when I start having children, I would do like the same thing to them, honestly. Like, oh man, get out of here, yada, yada, yada. They come crying or whatever. And the only way that I knew how to maneuver the situation is through what I had learned in life. And it took me a while to learn any better. It's a wonder. I mean, even now, all of my kids are like smart asses. Well, my older ones are. They're smart asses, but that's because it was my teaching. And you don't have to sit them in a chair and give them a lesson on how to be a smart ass. All they got to do is watch you be a smart ass to them. And then they become quick with their lips, quick with the responses. They know how to cut you. They know how to dissect you. They know how to tear you apart. But that's what my brothers was doing to me for so many years. And I turned around doing it right back to them. And once I got old enough to start having my family, this is how I was raised. And I carried that on with me and passed that on to my older children. And it took me a while to learn not to do that. Not to do that. It's difficult because somebody isn't always there telling you what's right or wrong. We just figure what's right and wrong based off of how we feel inside. But the crazy part about it is people can be doing something to you that don't feel so good, but you pick up the habit yourself of hurting other people because it's what you learned. Now, maybe if we reacted off of how we felt instead of what we were taught, sometimes we'd be a lot better off. And there'll always be people who come into your life that, they were taught better. They were raised differently. And guess what? You can run around all day long saying, well, ain't nothing wrong with the way I was raised. Well, guess what? You're not perfect. And your mom and dad didn't do everything perfectly. They didn't. And if you ask them and they straight up honest, they'll tell you, yeah, we fucked up a couple times. There's some things that you wish that you never taught your kids or you wish your children never saw. Like when I was in the Marine Corps, I used to smoke, but I used to go outside to smoke, right? Now, my daughter, at the time, she had to be every bit of maybe 3. She used to look at me out the window and watch me smoking. Well, she had these little toy keys, and they were shaped like skeleton keys. And one day I was smoking, and I saw her standing in the window watching me and putting the key in and out of her mouth like she was smoking. And it made me feel bad to the point that I didn't want to be in a space where she could see me doing what I was doing because I didn't want her to turn around and do it. Children always want to assimilate. They want to be like those who are raising them, those who care for them. I mean, Sigmund Freud said that all little girls want to marry their father and all little boys want to marry their mother because that's what they understand love to be in a moment, not understanding what marriage means, not understanding what being together in a relationship means, but just the way they picture love, like you belong to them. And that's how they picture it. They don't picture adult stuff. It's not a sick thought when you think about it. It just means that your children, they're in love with you. So why wouldn't they emulate you? To your children, you're God. You're a goddess. You're the smartest person, the fastest person, the strongest person. You cook the best. Even if you cook like crap to them, you cook the best. You do everything. Your kids make their boo-boos feel better, not nobody else's. But I'm saying all this to say a lot of times when we learn how to communicate with each other, it's simply because we were taught that. We were taught how to respond. We were taught what to say. We're even taught how to react when we feel emotions. If you see your mother or father get upset and the first thing they do is reach for a belt, a lot of times, a lot of people do that. They get angry and the response is to respond with physical trauma to somebody else. You got what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like I ain't never whooped the ass in my life. My kids know I whooped them before. But the older I got, I started learning that I didn't need to whoop my kids like that. I just didn't. Like my 12-year-old, she's never had a whooping. Doesn't even know what it feels like. I think if I whoop my daughter right now, she would literally be like, what the fuck? What just happened here? She would probably pack up her shit and call herself running away because she doesn't know what it feels like. It will probably be the end of her world. She will probably be like, my dad beat me up. Not equating this to a spanking. My dad beat me up. She doesn't know how it feels. But it makes me feel bad inside because if I can go back and talk to my younger self, if I had this wisdom that I have now when it comes down to raising my children, and people always say, oh no, you gotta whoop your kids, you gotta whoop your kids. Let me tell you something. I did whoop my kids, but one of them I did not. My 12-year-old, the next one in line from her is freaking, 22, 23? You got what I'm saying? So it's such a huge span of time. But what happened as I grew, I understood I don't need to be putting my hands on them. Sometimes when you say something, it's enough. It depends on how you're raising your children. And besides that, what I look like coming at my kids saying, no, you can't do this, when they see me doing it all the time? What I look like telling my kids don't respond to people with violence? And the only conundrum that I've really honestly found myself in at any point in time, I'm going to get back to my main point, but the only conundrum that I found myself in was when my oldest daughter was getting bullied, because I always taught them, hey, you tell an adult, you tell an adult. So it comes a certain time when you realize other people aren't teaching their children what you're teaching your children. So are you truly preparing your child for the world that they're going to be in? That's the tricky part about it. That's the only fucked up part of all of this. Am I preparing my child for the world that stands outside that door? Because one thing I know is I'm not going to live forever. I mean, I would like to live for quite some time, but I'm not going to live forever. So am I really teaching my children the right things? And when I ask myself, the way I interact with my 12-year-old, am I teaching her the right thing? Yes, I am. I'm teaching her that when you have somebody that's looking up to you, that loves you like no other will ever love you, you don't have to mar that with putting your hands on them. I mean, shit, I'm 280 pounds, but I look like fucking up a 12-year-old. But I've been stern with her. I give her direction. I give her praise and love. At my daughter, 12 years old, and every night Before she goes to bed, I poke out my cheek and she gives me 3 kisses on my cheek. And as she impacts my cheek, I go, and I do the same thing to her. She pokes out her cheek and I give her 3 kisses. And even when she's in trouble, I'll tell her, you're in trouble. Yes, I'm disappointed by what you did, but make no mistake, I love you. I don't want to look at you right now because I'm so disappointed. And the reason why I don't want to look at you right now is because I don't want to just react. I tell her flat out, I love you. But even when my children were younger and I had to spank them, I always told them the same thing. I said, I know I just spanked you, but that don't mean I don't love you. Now go ahead. And I gotta honestly say, I think I have really good relationships with my daughters. One of them I think is a little shaky at times, but that's just her personality. But I think I have really good relationships with my kids. Like, they tell me probably way more than what a dad should know. Way more than what a dad should know. But I feel good about that because there's so many people out there who children won't talk to them. There's so many people out there who children won't tell them stuff. So I know to a degree, I taught my children how to communicate well. And with them being older now, of course, they call me with adult problems. And they don't always like what I have to say because sometimes they just want you to be on their side. But I can't be on your side if you're wrong. I have to be your father all the time. And I told my kids, you will never be my friend. You will never make it to being my friend. You can only be my child. And I will love you the way I love my children. I don't care how old you get. I love you the way I love my children. You deserve that because you're my child. You deserve my love and you are worthy of my love because you are my child. And I give them all of me with no degrees of separation. And that's the good, it's the bad, it's the ugly. Sometimes I'm their superhero. But sometimes I know in the back of their minds, I'm that motherfucker. You know what that motherfucker said to me? But sometimes you gotta tell them. They call me with boy problems and everything. Well, man problems and everything. And I have to tell them flat out, like, yo, don't do that. You shouldn't do something like that. But I don't always tell them what to do and what not to do. Sometimes I let them figure out for themselves, or sometimes I have to kind of flip it on them so that they can walk in his shoes and see how he feels. So you have to give your children these tools so when they get older, they understand. When you get angry, that don't mean you stop loving somebody. It's sort of like a lot of times people will be in these relationships, they will fall out of the relationship, they will fall out of love with the person they with, and then they act like they fucking fell out of love with their damn children. What kind of stuff is that? But what's even worse is half the time, people fall out of love with each other and they try to make their children fall out of love with the other person just because they don't love the person anymore. And that's just as wrong because once again, you're teaching your children how to communicate. When they get older and have children, they're going to teach them kids what you taught them. Right now, just consider this. I put this toward you for your consideration. Think about this. Right now, the way you're reacting to something, to some type of stimulus external of you, maybe because your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were that way. And with every generation, they just passed it along. With every generation, they acted the same. And it's so funny when people call somebody the black sheep of the family. There's a reason why there's a black sheep in the family. Because that's the one who's breaking the cycles. That's the one who's not doing what everybody else did. They're not acting the way everybody else acted. They're being themselves. They're doing what feels right instead of what's always been done. I'm sorry, it's always been done this way. It's just not good enough. It's not a good way to show our children. And I don't care what your parents taught you. I'm saying your parents are supposed to give you a good foundation, but it's just that. Foundation. If you like, I teach my kids, if you want to do something, give it your all. But prior to you running out there to do it, get all the information you possibly can get. Sleep on that shit. You don't always have to answer somebody today because they asked you a question today. Sometimes you need to come back. The crazy part about everything is somebody can ask you something. You can make a snap judgment, give them an answer, get home, and then think about the 50 things that's wrong and you already committed. So sometimes you got to sleep on stuff. You can't always worry about hurting people's feelings because guess what? Even on your best day, being the nicest person you could ever be in this universe, somebody can be hurt by something you say without even you intending to hurt them. But it's important to have a high emotional IQ. It's important to know where something came from in you. It's important to not take everything so personal. And it's also important to know just because somebody tried to do something to hurt you, it don't mean you have to do something in return to hurt them. Just because somebody wants to argue with you, it doesn't mean you got to say the meanest thing you can possibly say. When I was growing up, I got an uncle named Mike. You know, my name Mike, his name Mike, I was named after him. So I remember him telling me a long time ago, he was like, you know how you win a fight? He said, you be vicious. He said, you got to do what the other person ain't willing to do. That's how you win fights. From the very beginning, you make everything you do count. You make everything purposeful. I went into the Marine Corps, man. They teach you how to be a gladiator, how to be a warrior. I took Kenpo, boxing. I did a whole lot of things in my 40 some odd years, almost 50 years of life. Crazy part about everything, you learn these things to protect yourself, to defend yourself. You got what I'm saying? Against an enemy, not against the people who love you. And even if you got into an argument with somebody, it doesn't mean they don't love you. It just means it's an argument. It's a disagreement. And sometimes that person, they may be the kind of person to try to drop these bombshells on you and obliterate you. But that's when you have to come to your senses. And you have to say to them, hey, I get it, you upset. And they get, oh, you damn right I'm upset. You damn right this, you damn right that. I understand that. But remember, after this argument, you still gonna want me in your life because I want you in mine. So let's not go places that's hard to come back from. Don't go somewhere that's really hard to come back from. Express your displeasure in a situation. But just because you're displeased, it doesn't mean somebody got to be cocksuckers, cunts, and fucking pricks. You got what I'm saying? A couple of the comments. How you doing, Anita? Paige Vac said, it's so true. It's hard to see other perspectives when you are angry. An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. I don't have on my reading glasses. Gandhi. Yes, indeed. And that's the honest to God truth. But you even saying that quote, Page, it reminds me of people saying you have to give respect to get respect. And this is one of my pet peeves. Man, this thing gets under my skin when I hear young people say it, but it's what they're being taught. Oh, if they didn't respect you from the gate, you ain't got no reason to respect them. Now, somebody could be it can be perceived that somebody is being disrespectful because they had a bad day. They may be angry and not even really aware of how short they're being or how nasty they're being because they can be in their own feelings. Man, sometimes you got to give people a chance. Let me tell you, I live in the hood. I can't express to you how many times I went to a fast food place and the cashier was as nasty as she wanted to be. And there are moments, I swear to you, ask my children, I do it in front of them all the time. There'll be moments where I say, you seem like you're having a really bad day. And they'll be like, oh man, yeah, it is. And I'll be like, sometimes just sparking a conversation with somebody takes that weight off of their shoulders. And let me tell you something, you can wind up feeling better than what you did when you came in there, because you helped somebody feel a lot better about whatever they were going through. You got to take your time sometimes. You have to pause for a moment. Everything isn't a war. Hell, everything ain't even a battle. Man, sometimes most of this shit that you go through in your relationships is just a minor disagreement. But what happens when people get into minor disagreements and then turn them into the biggest freaking problem that they ever had and let it sit there and keep compiling other problems and other issues on top of it, before you know it, you can't even stand this person. You're questioning, why am I laying here? Let me tell you something. You know it's bad when you sitting up in the middle of the night and you're looking at the back of their head just thinking like, man, I could just bust you in the head with a brick. Man, if you catch yourself in a space like that, where you almost have to feel ashamed for your thoughts, then you just may have let it got that bad. They may have let it get that bad. We can't do that to each other. We can't. It's not fair. It's not right. That's just what it is. It's not fair and it's not right. I'm going to take this time here to run down this a little after 8:30. I'm going to take this time here to run down what I got going on again. I wanted to let everybody know that tomorrow, literally tomorrow night, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. at 517 Avenue of the States, we are having the Open Mic Cafes. I'm Open Mics. We're having the Open Mic Cafes Summer Series. So if you want to come through and be a part of our live studio audience, we're going to record all these episodes. So we're going to have free shows twice a month, the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. We'll have vendors. It'll be food. It'll be drinks. It'll be the whole 9 yards. Now, seating is limited because we're still operating under COVID. So when you come with your mask. I got little hand sanitizer and all that jazz. We're going to stay clean. We're going to have safe, but we're going to have a good time. Now, we'll be recording, so it will be a couple of rules in place for people to know when we're recording. We need to catch clean information while we're recording. So it may cause for, if you're over there trying to get food or something, just keep it down, turn your cell phones off, all that jazz, you know what I mean? Or mute them, silence them. You got what I'm saying? If you would like to be a part of our studio audience, what I do ask is that you inbox me at Michael Storm Miller on Facebook, your name. And I already got people sending me names, so send me some names, you know what I mean? Because after a certain number that I'm not putting out there, I'm cutting it off. You got what I'm saying? Because we only want so many people in the building because of COVID restrictions. Like I said, you keep on every second and fourth Monday, you send me your name if you want to be in the building, and I promise you I will save you a seat. It will be taped. It's going to be aired on cmpradio.net. So come check it out. If you are a small business and you would like to sponsor one of the episodes, some of the episodes, you know what I mean? You come hit me up, let me know what's good. I also animate logos and things of that nature. All that little nice work y'all been seeing on my page and everything. All of those things are things that I do. So get with me, talk to me. I'm very reasonable. And let me see, am I forgetting anything? Yes, I am. You can catch me at Mind of the Storm on TikTok. I'm doing pretty good on TikTok too. My numbers are looking good. You can also catch me on Mind of the Storm on YouTube. Michael Storm Miller on Facebook, Quiet Storm the Poet on Instagram, and that's the Poet, D-A. Quiet Storm the Poet. So, oh, and also you can catch me on www.mindofthestorm.com. That's my website. So if you want to hire me for any events to come out and do my hooky up like I do with the spoken word thing, then you come catch me. And also, if you have problems getting to me on YouTube, please go to my YouTube page through my Facebook page. Click on one of those videos that I've been posting, and it'll take you right to my page. Please subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you think, you know what I mean? And share. Look out for each other. Let's share. So now back to this conversation. So I know that was a whole lot to say and then be like, okay, back to the conversation. So what I want everybody to try to do is when you get upset about something and you know you want to talk about it, but you have a lot of anger in your heart because of the situation, don't go talk to your friends first, because your friends, a lot of times, they love you. They're going to hype you up. They're going to be your hype man. They're going to be like, girl, if I was you, oh man, if I was you, I'd just say, fuck that bitch. You know what I mean? These are the things that people tell you, the type of advice they give you, and they supposed to be loving you. You know what I mean? They don't never tell you anything like, hey, calm down first. So that's what I'm suggesting to you. If you know that you're a volatile person, if you know that you can take it from 0 to 60 real quick, what I ask for you to do is breathe on it. Wait until you're in a space where you can have a conversation. And I don't mean a 2-minute conversation. I mean, when you breathe and you get into a space, if you have to schedule, if it's Monday, but you can't talk about this until Wednesday, then let it be what it is. Because it ain't going to change nothing between Monday and Wednesday. You got what I'm saying? Now, by the time you decompressed, I don't care, go to the spa, get a massage, you know what I mean? Take a warm bath, relax, get yourself into a good mental space. Empty out the trash bag, clean the filter in your mind so that when you go, you have plenty of space to stay calm. You got what I'm saying? So you don't have to say the harshest of things. Because a lot of times we pop fly, but it's because if the meter goes from 0 to 100, we are already at 80 when we having a conversation, especially if we're already internally angry about something. We're coming to the table with that anger. If you had a bad day, it's just not a good day to talk. And it's okay to say, look, I had a bad day. I understand. How about this? How about we talk about it tomorrow? But tonight, man, come here. Come lay with me. Tonight, let's just pull out the ice cream and freaking some pound cake. You got what I'm saying? Make light of the situation so that when you do have to have the conversation, you just had a good time with the person that you love, the person that you care about. And it kind of reminds you in a way, you don't always have to be a gladiator. Because y'all didn't start out as enemies. Y'all may have started out as the best of friends, and just over time, sometimes we don't do the maintenance we need to do in our relationships. Sometimes it'll be a small leak in the roof of our relationship, and we'll be like, oh, just put a bucket under it. But we wind up leaving that bucket there for 10 years. And it's not even just that the bucket is overflowing, but now all of the wood and everything is rotted. It's a hole in the roof. You can see the damn sun. and the roof of your relationship. Like you got to do maintenance. We got to take care of each other. Sometimes we got to remind each other why we fell in love with each other. It just go that way. Sometimes you got to rub feet. You got to rub a back. Sometimes, I don't know. Maybe they're a flower person. Maybe they not. Maybe the whole thing is, hey, why don't you take this weekend and go to a hotel room and just chill? I'm not going to bother you. Just chill. You need to relax some. Sometimes people need to be reminded how much you care about them. That's all. It's not a hard thing. You should never come out your mouth saying the most hurtful thing and then use that same mouth to say, I love you. Who does that? That's like somebody punching you in the face and then later on saying, well, I only punched you in the face because I love you. What? You punched me in the face because you love me? Oh, I only said, that your mom was a crack whore because, I love you, but I get so mad sometimes. No. You don't just push buttons to push buttons just because the buttons is there. Because the person trusted you. They trusted you with their heart. They trusted you with their secrets. They entrusted you to protect them. But you put yourself before them. You put yourself way before them, your feelings before them, your insecurities before them. You put everything before them and then expect them to put you first. How can I put you first if you put everything in your life in front of me? It's not going to happen. It won't make any sense. It doesn't add up. And if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense, right? It just will never add up. And I'm sorry. I truly believe in my heart that when you're in a relationship, it's two people working together for the better of the whole. If I hurt you, it's really only hurting me. You got what I'm saying? If you're down, then I'm down. Because I don't want to see you like that. If you're my better half, then I want you to be that, my better half. See, what we fail to realize in relationships, honestly, I'm supposed to take all of my eggs and put them in your basket. You're supposed to take your eggs and put them in my basket. And we shouldn't have any freaking thought processes that our eggs are going to get broken, because I know you're going to take care of my eggs like they was your own. I know it. As a matter of fact, you might paint smiley faces on a couple of them just to make me smile. You got what I'm saying? Love isn't hard. Love isn't difficult. It's the people that's in it that make it so damn hard. Let me tell you something. If you are in a space or in a position where you feel like you can't talk, just say you can't talk right now. And let me tell you something. If somebody really loves you, they're going to respect that. Now, I'm not telling you that you do that for every single conversation, because every single conversation is not draining. But when you know it's going to be a rough one, say, look, maybe we got to break this down in segments. Set a freaking timer for 2 minutes. So for 2 minutes, I'm going to sit here and not interrupt you. And I'm going to let you say everything you need to say. Or treat that shit like, listen, mostly every job I ever had, I was a manager. And one managing technique that they always tell you is that you say something good and then you tell them something bad. You got what I'm saying? And I don't mean that superficial good shit like, yeah, you flushed the toilet. That's not a good, well, it's a good thing, but you know, everybody should be flushing the toilet. I mean, you want to come at them and just say, you know something? I love the way that you make me feel when, I don't know, when I have a hard day and you could just see it on my face and you come and just rub my shoulders. It makes me feel good. But lately, it's been kind of like this. I feel like you've been ignoring me. I feel like you haven't this, and I feel like you haven't really that. But then once that timer goes bing, then shut up. Give them their 2 minutes. Because I tell you what, as Paige said earlier, it's hard to see other perspectives when you are angry. And if you're saying stuff to hurt people and to make them angry because you're angry, then who's listening? Really, this whole conversation is wasted. And all we're doing is saying shit to hurt each other just to be regurgitated back to you at a later date when you in a better space. Oh yeah, because remember, you said I. And let me tell you something. Once you start chipping away at love, man, that shit don't grow right back. Love is not regenerative. It doesn't, once you damage it so bad, it just withers away. I remember, it's a quote, I don't remember who said it, I should have Googled it, but they said the good thing about marriage is that it keeps you together so that when you fall out of love, it gives you enough time to fall back in love again. It's something like that. Let me tell you something. You shouldn't be falling out of love. We shouldn't be selfish to each other. We shouldn't be hurtful to each other. But somewhere along the line, and I wish that each one of us as individuals could actually see when it's occurring, when the tide is shifting. Just imagine if you can catch yourself from falling. Imagine if you can catch yourself from the last straw, from you committing the last straw that broke the crack that broke the camel's back or whatever. Just imagine you listen to yourself as you talk. And as you listen to yourself, put yourself in this space of like, what if he was saying that to me? Or what if she was saying that to me? Put yourself in that space. I mean, sometimes things is just what it is, but that don't mean you got to be hurtful about it still. If somebody cheated on you, do you have to run around and you cheating motherfucker, you this, you that, you no good, this, that. Okay, what is all of that even proving at a point? When number one, most people just turn around and forgive the person anyway and just hold a grudge on them for the rest of the relationship. You got what I'm saying? But then what is that grudge even proving? Either forgive somebody and let it go or hold on to that hatred in your heart. And ask yourself, is it more important to have somebody so that nobody else has them, but you're not really happy with them? Or is it more important for you to be with somebody that you're happy with? I mean, pick your poison. Because at the end of the day, it's typically not the person you're with that's hurting you the most. Most of the times it's you. Most of the time it's you. Because we don't know how to let go. We don't know how to love ourselves. We don't know how to take care of ourselves. That's the crazy part of it all, really. It's bad when you don't know how to take care of yourself. It's bad when you don't know how to love yourself. It's bad when you don't know what to say to somebody because nobody ever said anything good to you, in your opinion. You got what I'm saying? Sometimes we're even looking for specific phrases or specific things that somebody should be doing. But guess what? All people can never really truly be is who they are. And you can't get angry at people for being who they are. And as angry as you want to get, all of the anger that you want to spew, all of the anger that you want to yell, let me tell you something. Number one, you're going to raise your blood pressure. Number two, stress is not good for you. Stress is a killer. So you can stress yourself out as many times as you want to, but I guarantee it ain't going to last too long doing it that way. I am telling you, in an effort to save what you have, in an effort to build something better in your life, in an effort to start something good in your life, always start with the letter C, communication. Let that be the beginning of your alphabet, communication. And not just communication, I say start with the letter E, effective communication. When you listen to somebody, listen actively. Don't listen with the intent to respond. Actually absorb what's being said. Because there's so many people. I think I can hear you on this, P. Pierre. I think I can hear you. I do. No? Okay, it's weird. Okay. Okay. Well, at the end of the day, all I'm trying to tell y'all honestly is just stay open. Just stay open. Stay open to the idea and the fact that if you're angry, you might not want to have a conversation. And typically, if you tell somebody you're angry and you don't really want to have a conversation, a lot of times they'll back off. They'll just say, oh, well, okay. Because who actively wants to get into an argument? Who wants to be in that space? You know? But I will say, if somebody comes to you and asks for that time so they can get themselves together, be sure that you're going to allow them that space. Don't try to force them into it. Don't try to argue with them. Don't try to fight with them. It's just not worth it. Because if you need that space, you need to be able to give them the same thing you need yourself. And granted, we're all different people. But sometimes you may have to point something out to somebody because they may be so upset that they're just not aware. So sometimes you got to say, look, I see how mad you are about this, how angry you are about this. So why don't we talk about it later after, some time to think about some things? Because sometimes when people are angry in a moment, it's not a constant state. So sometimes you got to understand anger, it's not a constant state. Any emotion you feel is not a constant state. It's just not. Even if you are angry at somebody for 20 years, you're not angry at them every day for 20 years. Sometimes weeks and months might go by. You might not even think about that person. But somebody may say something that brings you back that way. You got what I'm saying? So keep those things in mind. So once again, let me see. I am down to the 6-minute mark. And because I'm down to the 6-minute mark, I'm going to do my last little final thoughts. So my final thoughts is this. It's not as hard to love people as we would like to think. What's even easier, honestly, is just communicating with people. If we seek first to understand, then to be understood, life would be so much better. Can you imagine understanding the person that's communicating with you? If you understand the person that's communicating with you, it kind of gives you a leg up because you know how to navigate the conversation. You know how to get your point across with taking the path of least resistance, because you're traveling these roads that you know of them, very familiar. You're traveling their familiar roads. You know their triggers and everything. You know what's going to upset them. You know what's going to make them shut down. So why even step on that street? And is anger a good enough reason for you to do it? Is anger a good enough reason to do anything? And typically, if you're that angry, you can't think. And life and love is a thinking man's game. It just is. Well, I'll say thinking man / thinking woman's game. It's not to be taken for granted. It's not to be played with and toyed with. Relationships are serious business. Because let's all face it, every day we get a day closer to when we leave this earth. Every day we get a day closer to being older. Eventually, when you get really old, and I guess I used to work in nursing homes and stuff, so, I understand to a degree what it means to be old and be by yourself. Honestly, I don't wish that on nobody. And people always say, oh, I won't be alone. I got my kids. Let me tell you something. Them visits, they start when you first get there, and then they get farther and farther apart. And you be lucky if you got one of them that's always there by your side. Let me tell you something. The best thing in life we could ever choose to do is to love and be loved. And if you want to be loved, be the best person you can be. But not just for the person that you're loving, but for yourself. Not just for yourself, but for your children who are watching. Be a person of love and understanding. You got what I'm saying? Don't be the person that's trying to hurt everyone because they're hurting themselves. Hell, if you need therapy, go get therapy. It's okay. There is nothing wrong with getting professional help. You might need anger management. Hell, I had to go to anger management before. I had to. And one thing I will say is I'm grateful and thankful that I did go to anger management, because I didn't know it was as bad as it was until I heard myself. We think what we think. Sometimes we do what we do. But it's something about having this moment of lucidness and then coming to like a stark, crystal clear image of hearing every word that leaves your lips. And you like, damn, I'm saying that. Or you're doing an action out of anger and you catch yourself like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. If you have a moment like that, you might need to go and seek help, and it's okay. So that is my final thought for the evening. I got 2 minutes left. So what I'm going to tell y'all once again is, please come out and join me tomorrow at 517 Avenue of the Stage. CMPRadio.net will be in the building recording these upcoming events that we're going to be having throughout the summer. So like I said, it's called the Open Mics Cafe Summer Series. You know what I mean? It's going to be strictly aired on CMPRadio.net. So if you don't make it out, eventually these episodes are going to start playing on CMPRadio.net. So what you got to do is go to CMPRadio.net on Facebook, like the page, follow the page, and as soon as something is airing, you will get a notification on your phone. And all you got to do is click the notification and you will be able to see whatever is going on, what's going on in this city, the conversations that we have about what's going on around the world. And there is plenty of other shows on here to check out. That was me stretching the last word. So I wanted to tell everybody, I appreciate y'all coming out tonight and spending this time with me. The next time I have a guest, I will be on for 2 hours, but I don't want to talk y'all to death too much. Always find a reason to smile. Always find a reason to laugh. It's way too much bullshit going on in this world not to. I love you.
Ghost Production. La 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 la.